I have it all. A growing career, a beautiful house, a wife who takes care of the boring stuff while I focus on more important things. Work, relationships, success. I work hard, enjoy life to the fullest, and I deserve the best. I am a man like all other men who want a woman who takes care of the family in the back and a mischievous little cat on the outside and even more. Honestly, that's what all men want. A dream, but not many dare to bravely admit it. Holly. She used to understand that. She was also ambitious and determined. That's what attracted me in the first place. But over time, she changed. She became boring, immersed in work the wrong way. Instead of climbing the ladder of fame like me, she buried herself in projects, spreadsheets, and late nights. Our marriage became a routine. I came home late from receptions, and she barely looked up from her laptop screen. There were no arguments, no drama, just an absence. It was as if we were just existing together and not really living together. And honestly, I think that's fine. Then Olivia appeared. She is not just another woman. Olivia makes me feel like I are living. She loved every word I said, laughed at my stories, and made me feel like a king. Unlike Holly, she doesn't talk about deadlines or budgets. She wants me, not simply to live next to me. At first, it was just a few glasses of wine after work, joking messages back and forth. Then one night in a hotel downtown, things went further. And it's absolutely right. Nature. As if I finally got what I deserved. Of course, I'm very careful. Holly isn't the type to be curious, but I'm not foolish enough to be careless. I pay in cash when possible. I kept Olivia away from places where Holly might go. I have a system, and it runs smoothly, until it wasn't anymore. It all starts with the little things. Holly asked very innocuous questions about finances. Mention an unusual credit card charge. Did you eat at La Maison last week? She asked one evening in a calm voice. Too casual. Business dinner, I replied, eyes still glued to my phone. Customers love that place. She nodded, but I saw the way she pursed her lips. She doesn't believe me. That was the first sign. The second sign was when I started to feel her eyes following me. Not obvious, but something different. She paused longer as I entered the house. Her eyes glanced at my phone screen when a text message arrived. Holly has never been the jealous type. She doesn't like confrontation. If she has doubts, she keeps them to herself. And that's the problem. She was too silent. I knew I needed to be more careful, but I also knew Holly wouldn't do anything. That's not her personality. So I continue. I took Olivia shopping, buying her a bracelet that was more expensive than my first car. When she said she had always dreamed of having a luxury car, I made it come true. Everything is perfect. Or at least, I think so. On the night of our wedding anniversary, I planned meticulously. A fancy dinner with Holly first, and then I'll make an excuse to leave, meet Olivia, and give her the car keys. A perfect distraction, the perfect balance between duty and personal pleasure. But there's something not okay. Holly is so calm. She smiles at the right time, talks sweetly, and plays the perfect wife. But there was something in her eyes that I couldn't name. When my phone vibrated under the table, I glanced over. Olivia. Can't wait to receive your surprise gift. I smiled, put the phone in my pocket. Only a few hours left. But little did I know that the game had changed, and I'm the one being manipulated. I left dinner with Holly feeling excited. Everything went according to plan. She didn't suspect anything. Still a quiet, calm, and predictable wife. I texted Olivia, I'm coming, get ready. I drove to her apartment, mentally imagining her screaming with joy when she saw her new car, a gift that represents my position, my power. Olivia likes luxury things, and so do I. We understand each other. But as I turned into the parking lot where I had carefully arranged for the car to be delivered, a chill ran down my spine. The car is not there. I looked around, frowning. There must be some mistake. Maybe the delivery person put it in the wrong place. I called the dealer. Yes, sir. The car has been repossessed. Your transaction was marked as fraudulent by the bank. I tightened my grip on the phone. Cheating? What do you mean? We received notification from the co-account holder that this transaction was not authorized. The bank has frozen the payment and opened an investigation. I felt my breathing heavy. Co-account holders. Damned. Holly. I hung up the phone just as Olivia walked out of the apartment, her eyes excited. Where's the car? I tried to stay calm, but probably failed. She looked at me, her eyes turned suspicious. Greg? I smiled wryly. There must have been some mistake. I'll take care of it. But Olivia didn't care about worrying. She cares about the result. I said it would be here tonight. Her voice was sharper than usual. Are you fucking me? I tried to calm my voice. Honey, don't worry. This is just a little problem. I'll take care of it. Handle? She crossed her arms. I mean, you don't have a car for me? I frowned. Don't overdo it. What are you talking about? She glared. Overdoing it. Greg, I promise. I said it was done. Now I'm standing here and telling you no car. I wanted to scream, but I restrained myself. This is not my fault. This is Holly. Holly ruined my plans. I took a step back. Give me one night. I'll deal with this tomorrow morning. Olivia glared for another second, then curled her lips. You really aren't as in control as you think, right? I clenched my fist, but said nothing. I turned away and walked quickly back to the car, my mind spinning. Holly knows, not only knowing but also hitting me right when I was least on guard. She didn't scream, she didn't make a fuss. She acts, and I can't let this continue. I rushed home, running through a series of ways to control the situation in my head. Call the bank. The account freeze order must be lifted. Talk to Holly, right, leading her to believe that this was a misunderstanding. Get Olivia back under control. I got home, walked in, and saw Holly sitting on the sofa, holding a cup of tea. She didn't look at me right away. What's wrong, Greg? Her voice was so gentle it was scary. I took a deep breath. I need to talk to you. She put down her teacup, crossed her arms and looked at me. Not angry. Don't panic. Just so calm it drives me crazy. I sat down opposite, trying to make my voice gentle and reasonable. There seems to be some misunderstanding with the bank. I need you to call them. Confirm that there is no problem with that transaction. Holly tilted her head, as if sizing me up. Ah, what are you talking about? I clenched my jaw. Right, she nodded. The car I bought with a joint account. That car I never knew. I opened my mouth to object, but she raised her hand to stop me. Do you think I'm stupid, Greg? I froze. She had never spoken to me this way before. Holly smiled slightly, but there was no warmth in it. I know it all, Greg. The expensive dinners. The hotel bills. The texts you thought I didn't see. I tried to regain my composure. Holly, you misunderstood. Misread? She laughed. Don't insult my intelligence, Greg. I saved it for many months to collect evidence. I contacted the bank and reported the fraud. And now? They're investigating you. I jumped up from the chair. What? Sit down. I looked at her, and in that moment, I realized I'm no longer in control of the game. Holly didn't just know. She took action, and I fell into the trap. I left the room, my heart pounding. I need to think. I need to find a way out of this. I need to save myself. But when I entered the bedroom, my phone vibrated. Message from Olivia. Greg, I can't wait anymore. If you don't keep your word, I will have to reconsider this relationship. I want to throw my phone against the wall. Everything is falling apart, and I don't know how to control it again. Holly didn't go to bed right away. She stood at the door of the room, looking at me as if, wait. I clenched my fists, forcing myself to stay calm. This isn't over yet, I said, my voice low. She just curled her lips. I know, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you do next. I squinted my eyes. She wants to play this game. Fine, I won't let myself lose. I stayed up all night. My phone kept vibrating with texts and calls from Olivia. She is losing patience. I promised her a life of luxury, expensive gifts, glamour, and now it's all slipping through my fingers. I tried to call the bank the next morning, but the call was held longer than usual. When someone finally picked up the phone, their tone was filled with caution. Dear Mr. Greg, we have received a request for a fraud investigation regarding your recent transactions. Currently, your joint account has been frozen, and we are unable to process any transactions until the investigation is completed. I don't agree to that, I growled. I'm the account owner. Yes, but so did Mrs. Holly, and we got the report from her. We have to follow procedure. I tightened my grip on the phone. How long will it take to resolve? Normally, it takes a few weeks. It could take longer, depending on the complexity of the case. A few weeks? I hung up without even saying goodbye. I need to act fast before things get worse and cannot be saved. I walked into the kitchen where Holly was making coffee. She looked relaxed, as if she hadn't just turned my life upside down. I pulled out a chair and sat down opposite. We need to talk. Holly put down her coffee cup and crossed her arms. We satisfied talked about last night? I kept my voice low, trying to stay calm. I reported it to the bank. What did I do that for? I'm just protecting my property, she said softly. I don't think you will stand still and watch me spend our shared money to buy a gift for your lover. I smiled faintly. Holly, you're overdoing it. She tilted her head, her eyes expressionless. Really? Then how do you explain the hotel bills, the lavish dinners, the car you were planning to give her? I opened my mouth to argue, but Holly interrupted. You forgot something important, Greg. I am also the account owner. You have the right to check your expenses. And when you see a series of unusual transactions, I do that any smart wife would do. I collect evidence. My chest tightened. She wasn't just suspicious. She had plans for a long time. I clenched my fist on the table. I think I can be destructive. How are you? Holly shrugged. There's no need to do much. I did it myself. I stood up, feeling angry. This isn't over yet, Holly. She just smiled slightly. I know, and I can't wait to see what you do next. I clenched my fists and turned to leave. Holly may think she's in control, but I will regain the initiative. That afternoon, I drove to see Olivia. I need to reassure her, keep her under control. But as soon as I entered her apartment, I knew the situation had changed. Olivia sat in a chair, arms crossed, legs crossed, eyes sharp. You're late, I frowned. I had a bad morning. She raised her eyebrows. Oh, I know. I heard about the car. I frowned. Who told you? She shrugged. No one needed to tell me. When I didn't receive the gift you promised, I found out for myself. Turns out my wife reported fraud, and now the bank has frozen everything. It sounds like he has no control over anything anymore. I gritted my teeth. I will fix this. She smiled faintly. Is that so? How? Borrow money? Apologize to my wife? Or rely on you to take care of you? I felt my face get hot. Don't forget who gave you all this. Olivia shrugged. Older brother satisfied. But now, I have nothing more to give. I clenched my fists. What do you mean? She stood up, walked closer. Her voice was gentle but sharp. I mean, Greg, you've lost everything. Money. Frozen. Job. If the bank continues to investigate, who knows what will happen? And you? She tilted her head. I don't like failed men. Anger flared inside me. Are you leaving me? Olivia smiled. It's not exactly quitting, Greg. I'm just choosing smart. She walked to the door, opening it wide. And your choice is not mine. I stood still, my heart pounding. She kicked me. I did everything for her, and now she throws me away like trash. Or not. I won't let myself lose. When I got home, my mind was spinning. I need fine back control. I can't let Holly win. I walked in and saw her sitting on the sofa, laptop open, still as calm as this morning. I rushed over and grabbed the computer. What the hell are you doing? Holly just looked at me, without fear, just sending some emails to the lawyer. I clasped the laptop in my hand. You think you can kick me out of your life? I think if I cheat, I don't have any consequences? My anger reached its peak. Holly, you don't understand me. How much to endure? Where? I thought I was a victim. But the reality is I neglected you first. She laughed softly. Do you really believe that? I'm speechless. She stood up and approached, her voice whispering. You lost, Greg. I want to object. Want to scream. But I don't have anything to say. For the first time in my life, I didn't know what to do. For the first time, I felt myself impotent. Holly was in control. And I've just left a pile of ruins. I left home that night, driving aimlessly in the dark. I don't have a plan. I just needed to get out of that space. Out of the way Holly looked at me, full of understanding, full of contempt. I can't let her win. I can't let her take everything I've worked so hard for. But I have to admit one thing. I'm losing. Bank freezes the account. Olivia kicked me. Holly took control of the finances, and I have a feeling that she still is. Many things that have not been released yet. I need to regain the initiative. I stopped the car on the side of the road and turned on my phone. Cannot use cards. Cannot withdraw money. I called a friend, Jason, a real estate guy who once asked me to cover up some of his shady dealings. Jason, I need to borrow some money. Silence for a few seconds. Then he smiled faintly. I thought you had money. There's some trouble with the bank. It's just temporary. Jason sighed. Sorry, Greg, but I heard there's an investigation into you. I don't want to get involved. I tightened my grip on the phone. Who told you that? It's just a rumor. Chills down my spine. Rumor, which means things have started to spread. I need to put out the fire before it burns me. The next morning, I woke up in my office chair, the only thing I had any control over. The company doesn't know about it yet, but it won't be long before they know. If Holly reports fraud, if the bank investigates, sooner or later, it will reach my workplace. I put on a neat suit and walked into the building with a confident smile, even though inside I was panicking. I need to act normal. I called my boss and explained the matter. Misunderstood bank accounts, and maybe the company will get a few inquiries from the bank. I tried to control the story, blaming it on technical problems, rather than anything serious. But the boss is not stupid. Greg, he said, his voice serious. We heard about the car, and the bank contacted the company's finance department. Do you have anything to say? I froze. When did they contact? Yesterday. We are considering opening an internal investigation. This is what I fear the most. If the company finds out I used my personal account to cover up my illegal spending, they won't just fire me. They can sue me. I swallowed hard. I can explain. You have 2 days to do it. I left the meeting feeling dizzy. 2 days? I need extended time. I need to deal with Holly before everything falls apart completely. I rushed home, Opened the door so hard I almost blew the hinges. Holly sat on the sofa, as if she had been waiting. I rushed forward, slamming my hands on the table. "You called the bank, right?" She wasn't startled. She just took a sip of tea. "That's right." I gritted my teeth. "You intentionally ruin your career?" She raised her eyebrows. "No, Greg. Older brother, do it yourself," I roared. "You don't understand the consequences of this." "Oh, I understand." She put down the teacup and slowly stood up. "You're out of control. You're panicking. And I bet your company is asking questions." I clenched my fists, feeling helpless. "Holly, I won't let you destroy me." She tilted her head, her smile bland. "Greg, you were never as strong as you thought you were. This time I didn't just look, I act." My phone vibrated. A message from the boss. "The internal investigation has begun. Be prepared to explain tomorrow morning." I felt my stomach twist. I did lose. The next morning, I sat in the Human Resources Director's office, across from my boss and a company lawyer. They asked about transactions. They asked me to provide proof that I did not use company money for personal purposes. I tried to lie. I tried to cover it up, but they knew too much. They were prepared. The meeting lasted 2 hours, and when it ended, I knew I had lost everything. "I'm sorry, Greg," the boss said, "but we can't keep you." Surname fire me immediately. No compensation, no opportunity to negotiate. I walked out of the building. The sun was shining, but I felt like I was in the dark. Lost money, losing Olivia, lost a job, and about to lose the whole family. All because of Holly. She destroyed me, but I still have one last card left. I returned home that night, filled with anger. Holly took it too far. I walked in and saw her packing a few boxes. "What do you do?" I asked, my voice filled with caution. She didn't even look at me. "Pack your things." I frowned. "Where are you going?" She smiled slightly. "Not you, Greg. Older brother." She pointed towards the table, where there was a stack of documents. I walked over and opened it. Divorce petition. I clenched my fists. "Are you serious?" She crossed her arms. "I lost my job. I lost my money. And I'm about to lose my house. Do you think you'll let me drag you down with me?" I want to scream. Want to destroy everything. "I won't sign." She shrugged. "Then the lawyer will take care of it." I stared at her, breathing heavily. "I loved you once, Holly." She looked at me, unmoved. "And you used to have it all, but you threw it away." Silence lasted for a long time. I know I was completely lost. I signed the papers and threw the pen on the table. Holly didn't smile. She just nodded, as if this were a trivial matter. And then I walked out of the house I thought was mine. Empty. There's nothing left. I have lost everything. And I can't blame anyone but myself. I left home with a small suitcase and a bunch of debt. I used to think I was invincible. I thought I was smarter than Holly, than Olivia, than anyone who ever doubted me. Now, I have nothing left. I don't know where to go. Olivia blocked my number right after I lost my job. Friends who once respected me now see me as a loser. My family. I don't want to listen to their moral lectures. I drove around aimlessly, finally stopping at a cheap hotel outside the city. I no longer have enough money to stay in luxury places. The room smelled musty, the carpet was old, and the bed was as hard as rock. I sat down and looked at my phone. Last message from Holly. "Don't try to contact me anymore. It's over between us." I threw the phone on the bed, feeling my anger rising. Holly did this to me. She didn't just destroy my life. She also made sure I couldn't get back up. I jumped up and started walking back and forth in the room. I need to find revenge. I need to get back what belongs to me. But I don't have money, no work, do not have power. For the first time in my life, I feel completely helpless. I can't just sit here and let Holly win. I went to a lawyer trying to see what I could do. "I want some of my property back," I said, my voice grumpy. "She can't take everything from me." My lawyer, a middle-aged man with cold eyes, looked at me despondently. "Greg, she has enough evidence to sue you for financial fraud. If you cause trouble, she can get you into a criminal case." I clenched my fist. "So what's left for me?" The lawyer shrugged. "It's a small amount of money from dividing assets, but with the amount of debt you have, it's not worth much. And you may have to pay compensation if the court concludes that you used common assets illegally." I want to smash my desk. "Is there any way to delay everything?" The lawyer sighed. "No. She planned it too carefully. I don't think you have a way out." I left the office in anger and despair. I need a way out. I tried contacting a few old colleagues who once admired me and relied on me to build their careers. No one answered. I texted Jason, the guy who refused to lend me money before. "Jason, I need help. What can I do to get my money back?" He replied to a short message. "No one wants anything to do with you anymore, Greg. You ruined yourself. I want to throw my phone against the wall. I used to have it all. Now, I am nothing. I drank all day, sat alone in a cheap hotel room, looked at the ceiling and thought about what had happened. How did I get to this point? I used to stand at the top, controlling everything around me. I used to make women admire me and make men jealous. Now, I was a failure, an outcast, with no one else wanting to be involved. I told myself it was Holly's fault. She planned, she destroyed me. But then a scary thought crept into my head. Arnott, this is my fault. I was too confident. I was too greedy. I thought I could deceive. I could manipulate. I could control it all. But I underestimated Holly. She is no longer the obedient wife I once took for granted. She has learned how to fight. And she won. I couldn't let myself drown in alcohol and self-pity. I need to find a way to get back. I met up with a few guys I knew in the business world. Shady people. People willing to do anything for money. I sat down with one of them. A guy named Vic. I need a chance to make some quick money, I said. It doesn't matter what it is. Vic stared at me, taking a sip of whiskey. Listen, Greg, I've heard your story. You're a risk. No one wants to do business with someone who can't control their life. I'll do anything, I said, my voice filled with desperation. Vic smiled faintly. Exactly what I don't want to hear. Desperate people always make bad decisions. I can't help you. He stood up and threw a few coins on the table. Buy a coffee. You'll need it. I sat there, staring at the coins in front of me, a feeling of humiliation weighing heavily on my chest. I have hit rock bottom. No one believes me anymore. There's no one left to help me. I have completely lose everything. I returned to the hotel and looked around the shabby room. A while ago I had it all. Now, I have nothing but regret. I opened my phone and wrote one last text to Holly. You won. I hope you're happy. I looked at the message for a few minutes, then clicked send. No response. I smiled bitterly. I know she won't answer. She has moved on. What about me? I don't know what I have left to fight for. I woke up the next morning feeling empty. The hotel room smelled of old beer and sweat. My head hurt like hell, but the physical pain couldn't compare to the feeling of failure that was gnawing at me from the inside. I reached for the phone. No messages, no missed calls, no work email, nothing. For the first time in my life, I was truly alone. I laughed. A dry, hollow sound. Someone looking at me would probably think I'm crazy. Perhaps they are right. I can't continue like this. I left the hotel and wandered the crowded streets, but didn't feel like I belonged anywhere. I used to stride down these streets wearing an expensive suit, confident and powerful. Now I'm just a lost person in the crowd. I went to a familiar cafe, where I used to meet partners and discuss big contracts. When I walked in, several familiar faces looked at me, whispering to each other. I tried to ignore it. I bought a cheap cup of coffee and sat down in a hidden corner. I pulled out my phone. If I had one last chance to save myself, it would be in my contacts. I scrolled through the contact list, stopping at one name, Paul Richards. Paul is one of the only people I know who can get me out of this mess. He is someone who doesn't care about rules, only cares about money. I called. He picked up the phone right after the second ring. Greg? His voice was full of curiosity. I thought you disappeared. I need to see you. The sooner the better. Paul was silent for a moment. How desperate are you? I closed my eyes and exhaled. Extremely. Then meet me at the old bar tonight. I hung up, feeling a glimmer of hope in my chest. This could be my chance to come back. But little did I know that this meeting would change me in a way I never imagined. That evening, I walked into the bar, which smelled of alcohol and cigarette smoke. Paul sat at the corner table, a glass of whiskey in his hand, a cold smile on his lips. I sat down. So, what do you want? He asked, taking a sip of wine. I need money, I said bluntly, and I need a job. Paul smiled faintly. What kind of job? I don't care, just need the money. He looked at me for a moment, as if assessing whether I was still valuable or not. Then he pulled out a cigarette and lit it. I have a few missions that need people, he said slowly. Not the kind of work you're used to, but if you have no other choice. I clenched my fists. Say it. He leaned forward, his voice low. Some people owe me money. I need someone to help me convince them to pay their debts. I swallowed hard. I know the meaning of the word persuasion in Paul's world. I'm not the type of person who likes violence. I was a businessman, a manipulator of words, not fists. But now, I have nothing left to lose. I nodded. Paul smiled. Good. Welcome to the new game. I don't know what I did at that time. I just knew that I had entered a world that I couldn't escape from. The following weeks passed in a blur of dirty work and money earned from other people's fears. I became Paul's right-hand man. I collect debts. I create pressure. I make sure that no one dares to cross him. I'm not the Greg I used to be anymore. I no longer wear expensive suits. I'm no longer someone with a fancy office or powerful connections. I am the guy people dread seeing walk into their bars. And I realized something. I don't hate it. I no longer care about fame, about status, about recognition. I don't need anyone to respect me. I just need their fear, and that's what I have in abundance. One night, as I was sitting in a dingy bar, drinking whiskey after a successful mission, I saw a familiar face walk in. Holly. She didn't see me right away. She was with another man, a rich, confident-looking guy, the kind of guy I used to be. I stiffened. I don't know what that feeling is. Anger, jealousy, or just plain bitterness. She has moved on. She forgot me. I took a sip of wine, feeling a smile slowly spread across my lips. Fine. I also forgot her. I returned to my new life, where I no longer had to prove your worth to anyone else, because I no longer care. I'm Greg, not a businessman, not a betrayed husband, not a failure. I am one ghost in the world of those with nothing left to lose. And I don't need anyone's pity anymore. When alone, and sitting in a cheap hotel room with an empty bottle of wine on the table, I realized something. I destroyed myself. Not Holly. Not Olivia. Not a bank or a company. It's me. I have had a dream life. A successful career. A smart, patient wife. A promising future. But I'd trade it all for just a little excitement. I viewed marriage as a permanent guarantee, thinking I could cheat and never get caught. I took Holly's love for granted, believing that she would forever accept me, no matter what I did. I was wrong. I remember the evenings when Holly sat working late while I went out to receive guests. The times she asked me about work, about unusual expenses, and I just smiled faintly and brushed it off as if she had no right to wonder. Now I understand that it was I who pushed her away. It was I who turned her from a loving wife into a cold, assertive, and no longer need me. I made the mistake that many men make. I thought I was smarter than the woman I shared my life with. I thought she would never leave me, that I could control everything. I underestimated her, and I was paying a high price. If you're cheating, if you're thinking you can cheat without getting caught, then do it again. You may think you are in control of everything. You may think you're good at hiding it, that your partner is too naive to notice. But I assure you, they know. Maybe they haven't said it yet. Maybe they're waiting for proof. Maybe they still love you enough to fool themselves into thinking everything is okay. But one day, they will stop waiting. And when that happens, there's no turning back. You may think that an extramarital affair will bring you newness, the desire that you lost in marriage, but that's just an illusion. Ask yourself, is it worth sacrificing everything just for a momentary passion? I used to believe that I could have both, a stable marriage and a secret relationship on the outside. The truth is, I lost both. If you're truly unhappy in your marriage, talk to your partner. Find a way to fix it or leave with dignity. Don't make the same mistake as me, because by the time you realize your mistake, it may already be too late.